Once again, we are back to this virtual session. It was a successful session last Friday, and we are now on our second virtual chat section now with the JDP boys. I would like to thank Ashish, Neville, Suren, and also on our three judges, Prakash, Ralph, and Edwin, for coming in to help us to get this event to be a successful and interesting one. Hope the JDP boys will appreciate that with this project that has been initiated by Ashish and the JDP team, that it will add value and we will take us to a different level. And I hope we'll have more of this, and hopefully, like I said, there'll be more to come. We have also arranged prizes for the winners and the runners-up. And I really hope that some of the senior family members would join us this evening to watch the presentation by the JDP boys. On that note, thank you so much. And I will then now hand it over back to Ashish, who will then just start this thing moving. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amarjeet, and thank you everybody for joining a pleasant evening today, as usual. But yes, we're all stuck in the houses, so what better way than to make the maximum use of this virtual session. I would also like to thank my other committee members and Ramesh, Niro, Viran, Saifullah, Arjun, and Praveen for helping us out with this project. What I will try, and also the judges who are going to judge this event or the presentations that are going to be made by the JDP boys. Once again, thank you for taking up this responsibility at a very short notice. As you see here, our three judges today are Edwin, Mr. Edwin Sia, Mr. Ralph Ratnaswamy, and Mr. Prakash, all very active members of the Saturday cricket side, as well as eminent personalities, both professionally and personally in their lives. Okay. What we have today is we have the whole agenda revolves around an interesting Netflix series called The Playbook, A Coach's Rule for Life, where there are these world famous coaches who talked about their perspectives of their own game as well as life. And it's a very interesting series and a learning for everybody, not only just the JDP boys, even for people like me who watched the series at some point of time, maybe a few months back. And that's where the idea emanated from. So we have 5 teams today. We have master batters, and they've named themselves master batters: RSC Vipers, Team Rivers, Night Watchman, and Team Staley Way. Okay, these are the teams. The prizes are, the first prize are obviously Castle vouchers. The second prizes are Castle caps sponsored by Castle Sports. And then of course there's an participation certificate for everybody on the call. I will straight away jump to the teams which are there. Team 1 is master batters is Sherwin, Rahul, Atif, Yashendra, Anish, Trevor, and the mentors are Niro and Viran. Team 2 is RSC Vipers, Kartik, Nish, Harun, Gurneel, Marzuk, mentored by Saif and Arjun. Team Rivers, Rahul, Bharatwaj, Rishabh, Siddharth, yes, mentored by Sel. Night Watchman, team number 4, Xavier, Ayush, Viren, Uday, Kimon, and mentored by Praveen. And team 5 is Devin, Aiden, Jinendra, Tejas, Luke, Arav, mentored by Kamesh. I think I've got the spelling of Tejas wrong. Apologies for that. And of course, these are the prizes and the evaluation criteria. Teams, please be very careful and listen to this. You're going to be evaluated on 10 criteria. One is clarity of thought. Second is interpretation of content. Third, learning and application. Fourth, delivery style confidence. Fifth, audience engagement. And then there are 10 points for innovation and 10 points for time management. So total of 70. So each judge will score you or give you allocate points on each of these criteria out of 70, and then it will get aggregated, and the winners and the ranking, post ranking will be done as per the points that have been allocated to you by these 3 judges. Certain house rules. As I said, time management is very important. We have a limited time today, so we're time boxing each team's presentation to 15 minutes. Even if you finish early, no worries. Don't bother about it, because that's what you've prepared for. But please do, once you've finished your presentation, please do give time for a Q&A session. And in that, I would request that the first preference is given to the judges so that they can ask you any questions if they have. And once they are done, then they can pass it over to the other audiences. So I would really encourage all the boys and everyone who is on the call to ask questions to the team so that we can get more out of it. So and of course, the last thing is that we are going the reverse order today. So team number 5, which is Team Staley Ray, is going to go first. Then team number 4, which is Night Watchman. Team number 3, Doc Rivers. Team Rivers. Then the Master. Then RSC Vipers, and lastly the Master Batters. Okay. So I will hand over. I will stop sharing my screen, and I will hand it over to Team 5, led by Xavier, right? Sorry, David, led by David.
Yeah. Ashish, in the meantime, let me give some house rules.
Yeah.
So I request, the team presenting, everyone in the team switches on their video so we can see the whole team. Although you're not talking, you can just leave your video on, and all the other teams off your videos and mute your mics. Okay, so only the team presenting will on. And once the team has finished, the judges will calibrate the scores. So maybe we take about 2-3 minutes for the second team to then start setting up or sharing their video and before starting. Okay. And once the team has finished, I think the judges will be Q&A time. We will let the judges ask the questions first. And once the judges have asked the questions, if there's more time, then the questions are open to anyone on the floor. So even you can ask from other teams, you can ask questions as well. Okay, so over to team number 5.
One point, in case you have a presentation or something to share, please just tell Neville. He will allow you to do the screen share. Thank you.
So can I start now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello everyone, my name is Devin Harendra. As the leader of our group, the Stolly Way, I would like to introduce my team members on this interesting assignment. Jinendra, Vijay, Aiden, Arav, with the mentorship of Mr. Kamesh. Over the past 2 weeks, my colleagues and I have shifted our focus and studied the ins and outs of basketball legend Don Michel Stolly through the Netflix documentary named The Playbook. Don Stolly was born on the 4th of May, 1970 at Philadelphia. Her fantastic achievements in the game has not only left her in the American Basketball Hall of Fame, but also as a coach. The Hall of Famer is currently the head coach for the University of South Carolina and the United States of America women's basketball team. Some of her outstanding achievements include winning 3 gold medals for Team USA and also winning the NCAA Women's Championship in 2017 as a coach for the first time. Next slide, please. The entire episode on Dawn can be summarized into some golden rules and lessons learned that my team was able to extract from Dawn's eye-capturing documentary, and they will each talk about the rules in a little more detail over the course of this presentation. Now, I will be explaining the 5 rules and and also the lessons that we have learned. Rule number 1, bring your own ball. We have learned that respect is earned and not due. Number 2, growth takes place outside your comfort zone. Adversity inspires change. Number 3, create an home court advantage. We learn to thrive on the power of crowd energy. Number 4, the 24-hour rule. Don't dwell on mistakes. Have a stable and growth mindset. And lastly, what is delayed is not denied. If you're able to be patient, you're bound to be successful. I would now like to call Arif to explain in more detail about rule number 1. Thank you.
Thank you. So rule number 1, bring your own ball. This rule is more figurative than it is literal, and it centers around the concept of earning respect and not expecting it. We all know that when playing a sport, you will come across volumes of different people, your teammates, your coaches, your opponents, and this rule explains that they may not all respect you, and you can't expect them to do so without cause. If you want respect, then you have to earn it, not by words, but through your game. This ties back to how some people say, talk with your bat, not with your mouth. While this rule explains how you should earn respect, it also touches base with an important fact which is often overlooked. It doesn't matter. We may feel disappointed if someone is rude to us or hurt, but we have to ignore it and keep going. This is an important trait to have in sports. It is important for us to focus on our game rather than what others think of us. We can always link these lessons back to cricket. It is possible that you feel one of your opponents is disrespecting you on the pitch. Maybe they were sledging, but rather than on why they don't respect you, you need to focus on your game. It is the same concept which inspires the saying, aim for success and greatness will follow. Dawn Staley explains how she did just that on her path to winning the championship as a coach. Beginning to her game. Her dedication to the game is what led her to be successful. While being excluded from a game, a moment in which many people would be encompassed by disappointment, she took the opportunity to improve her game, and she beat those same fought to play from there on. Dawn Staley can serve as an example for us. She ignored those who didn't respect her, focused on her game, and today she's a championship winner as a coach. I will now pass it on to Vijay to explain the second rule.
Thank you, Arif, for the brief introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vijay and I'll explain the point that I've learned from the growth takes place outside of this rule has been eye-opener for me, and I feel that learning this will help me make adjustments to my thinking, my attitude, and my execution. So now I'll explain the few benefits that I've learned from being outside my comfort zone. Firstly, challenging myself can help me improve at my peak. So this is often easier said than done. So I intend to set smaller goals to improve and make this a continuous process. So over time, I get better. Secondly, we will be able to improve every single day by setting and achieving harder goals. Thirdly, I'll explain that by being able to be out of our comfort zone, I'm able to adapt to change quickly. Fourthly, we won't remain stagnant in life. The fifth benefit that I can get from being outside of my comfort zone is that realize that the struggle will be for now and later will become more easier. So based on this presentation, how can this how does this thing impact my game? So basically, I'll tell you all a story that I'll explain an example. So firstly, Coach Neville, he used to tell me an advice basically to do more throwdowns and to do more spot bowling. However, I neglected that idea because I felt that it was pointless to do much more activities, and to be honest, it was wrong. So after learning from this presentation, by doing more spot bowling and also doing more throwdowns, actually I'm out of my comfort zone. Therefore, I'll improve as a player every single day. So basically, by changing my attitude and habit, I can improve my game tremendously. Now I'll pass on the point to Aiden to explain the further points. Thank you.
Thank you for the interesting education on how we can challenge our comfort zones, Vijay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Aidan Michael. Now I will be talking about the third rule, creating a home advantage. This rule really emphasizes on how we can use home advantage to the best effect possible. So for us, this would mean using our knowledge of the RSC ground and its pitch and conditions as a trump card against any opponents that visit the ground. We should be able to utilize our knowledge of our home ground as a beneficial advantage. An important factor is to create an atmosphere with positive energy to motivate the team and instill a winning mentality. We should thrive on the power of the home crowd energy. As we are cricketers, we don't really get a large audience cheering on for us at Royal Selangor Club. So we need to create our own noise on the field in order to influence our teammates and give ourselves a much needed boost to ensure we have the last amount of energy so we can score the winning run, take a blinding catch, or even the final wicket to seal the game. A great example that really inspires me to talk about this rule is Liverpool Football Club, who proved that this rule can really help win trophies. They went on a 68-game unbeaten home streak that lasted for almost 4 years because they believed in their crowd and they believed in themselves and used their energy. It proves that if we really understand and execute the benefits of home advantage, we will be a formidable force that inspires fear into any opponents that step foot on our legendary ground. Thank you for listening, and I will now pass this on to Jinendra.
Thank you, Aidan, for an excellent explanation on how to use our home ground advantage. Good evening, everyone. I will be sharing my perspective on Don's 24-hour rule and how it can benefit us. Every game ends up with either a win or a loss, occasionally a draw, hence there will be winners and losers. The 24-hour rule is a way of addressing our emotions after the match has finished. Even though the number described by Don was 24 hours, it could be a different number for every individual out there. Essentially, Don's rule is giving yourself time to relax after the game and taking your mind off the performance. Later on, you should go back to the game and replay some scenes in your head whilst reflecting on your actions as to where you made mistakes and where you made the good decisions. This is all done on your own, as you know yourself the best and you would be your best critique. After you are done giving yourself some constructive criticism, you should throw away all the regrets you have and move on with only a positive mindset as you look forward to showcasing your skills the next time you play. Personally, this rule that Don Staley described has been eye-opening. Based on previous experiences of getting out for a duck, getting smashed for multiple sixes in an over, I would often beat myself up, and that led to pent-up negative emotions such as regret and anger. This caused me to underperform in the next match as I was occupied with all my negative thoughts instead of coming up with solutions for the previous mistakes. So I really understand where she comes from and how this rule could really turn your game around. Thanks everyone, that's all from me, and I'll be passing it on to Arav.
Thank you for explaining that rule to us, Jinendra. The final rule is what is delayed is not denied. This rule revolves around the concept of explaining resilience, which is an essential component of sports. When we work towards our goals, there will inevitably be obstacles, just as there are with any task, and it should also not come as a surprise that sometimes these obstacles have the ability to set us back. Some people suggest that we should take these failures with a grain of salt, but Dawn Staley explains otherwise. Dawn Staley's setback was losing the championship with her team in the finals, and this was extremely difficult on her since her dream is to win the championship. But she discusses how she kept a piece of the net from the match which she lost in her wallet as a reminder. This is a key example of how she turned that loss into an asset by using it as motivation to continue working towards her goal, to win a championship. This also highlights the idea of resilience. After coming so close to her goal but not achieving it, she was obviously disheartened, just as any of us would be. But instead of staying fixated on how she lost, she got back up and continued to work for her goal. and that act of bouncing back from hardships represents the concept of resilience. We can relate this idea to ourselves. For example, maybe our goal is to play for the state or national team, and there may be times when we come close to but do not get picked. This does not mean we should give up. Instead, we should keep working and come back stronger. While explaining this rule, she also discusses how throughout the process of coming back even harder after failure, she kept her goal of winning the championship in front of her the whole time, and this teaches us not to lose sight of our goals. A topic which she touched on is to not let our emotions get the best of us. Obviously, there are times where we may be encompassed by emotions, but we can't let that take control of us and be the deciding factor behind our next actions. Dawn Staley gives the example of how she came back the following championship as a coach, and her team had a strong lead in the finals. And even though she was really happy inside, she didn't express it at all. She stayed focused on the game and continued to coach until the last second of that game. This is something prevalent to us. For example, if we are in a game and there's a catch drop, we can't let our emotions get the best of us. We may be feeling embarrassed or annoyed, but we can't let these emotions govern our next actions and possibly have a ripple effect on the game. We have to be resilient, bounce back, and continue to give the game our all. This photo here is of her coming back and winning the following championship, not as a player, but as a coach. She's participating in the tradition of the coach cutting the net as a memoir, and this picture was taken as a marker of success after a journey of resilience. Passing it over to David to finish off the presentation.
Thank you, Arif. All in all, I think all of us can walk away today with something to learn from Dawn's rules and experiences. I would also like to take this time to thank RSC Cricket for this opportunity and also Mr. Kamesh for mentoring our group. To cap things off, I would now like to open the floor for any questions. Thank you.
Judges, any questions?
Yeah, just one that from this presentation, I just want to know from the teammates' voice, what did you all learn in this? What is the main thing that you guys learned of this presentation?
I think from my perspective is to never give up, even though she didn't win it as a player and still lost the NCAA championship 3 years in a row. She still came back and won it again, and yeah, still keeping that fire within her to win.
Basic thing is never ever give up, not only in the games, in your life too, right? Be positive always, move on. Okay, we learn from mistakes. Okay, we played hard, we have lost or whatever, but we move on, right? Thank you.
Okay, my question would be during the course of the episode, she mentions this particular line: "Make people respect you through persistence." Now, what is it that you all understand from this particular sentence that she said?
I think it kind of links back to the idea of like, don't take no for an example. Don't take no for an answer. If you've got a goal in mind and there's something that you want to work towards, for example, as I mentioned, maybe play for a certain team. Like, it's okay if you get denied one time. It doesn't matter. You have to not give up. You have to stay resilient, and you have to keep be persistent towards your goal and keep working for it.
Okay, I think there was another question from Edwin, which was, how do you prepare yourself when you do not have home advantage?
I think for me, this speaks out because you need to be able to prepare yourself to play in any conditions, and we can't be giving out excuses like the ground was, the pitch was dry, it was not, the conditions were not too good, so I was unable to perform. We need to prepare our mindset to face any conditions and like have a positive outlook on things so that our team can really perform.
Okay. All right. Just one more point, a more point actually that I just wanted to draw your attention to. When you're talking about home court advantage, there was also another thing that she did, which was very, very crucial, which was she engaged her community. So she brought the community, which was primarily based around football, to angle towards women's basketball. So she did that by going around and speaking to people. So the most important thing there is, as players, you need to be comfortable engaging your community. The more you engage your community, the more they'll come and support you. So that was the one more thing that that she did bring up.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, maybe one last question. Let me. So you had the five rules, right? Which rule do you believe would be most applicable for you all as RSC cricketers? So all rules are good, but which one do you think is a quick win that you could, follow and so on?
I think the 24-hour rule, because sometimes we as cricketers, we are young and we don't know how to handle the pressure, and we beat ourselves up, like Jendra said previously. So I think that rule is very important for us as growing cricketers to take it up to the next level and perform as a team.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, in the interest of time, I think we will just give 2 minutes for our judges to evaluate the team and share their scores with Suren. And we will, once Suren has given us a thumbs up, we will go to team number 4 to start off their presentation. Thank you, everybody. Well done, team. Team Stevie Way. Well done.
Hey, now that the formal piece is over and we're no longer being judged, can I say, Suren, that question you asked, it's like a out of syllabus examination question. That's not a fair question.
They'll be put in the spot. I'm telling you, it's a good one. We put them in the spot, and I guess that will happen at some point of time. So yeah, a good thing to. Yeah, and it is a very good answer. That
yeah. So even if you do not know the answer, I think it's how you handle the question. I think
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I was only, joking.
Okay. So maybe the team night watchman can start preparing, sharing their screen, and then wait for my go ahead to start.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sharing any slides, and the team can start on switching on their videos.
Is team 4 starting?
Yeah.
Maybe they are on mute or something.
Yeah, I think team 4 night watchman can proceed and start.
Okay. Hello everyone. Good evening to the judges and the participants. My name is Uday Wazuchan, and today we'll be presenting you the Playbook, a Coach's Rules for Life, episode 3 by Jose Marino, and it's done by Ayush Veturi, Kamon Solomon, me, Viren Gemini, and Xavier. But Xavier couldn't make it today because of a doctor's appointment. So the reason why we have chosen the name the Night Watchman is because it symbolizes the sport of cricket, and a night watchman is a low order batsman who comes into bat higher up the order than usual near the end of the day's play, And the role of the watchman is generally given to players who emphasize defensive technique over quick run scoring. This shows stability in one's mindset, as well as shows how people take granted for bowlers and how they perform in tough situations. I would like to pass it on to Ayush.
Next slide. Yeah, so as with all of the episodes of the rule book, we need to understand that there are many rules that are being expressed. And so the first rule that was expressed in the case of Jose Mourinho is understanding your audience. It's important. So Mourinho in the initial stages of his career was actually set to become the general manager or the coach of FC Porto. And so upon becoming the coach, he realized that his team didn't represent the values, the passion that the people of Porto had for the sport of football. And so he wanted to reconstruct this team and build a team of players that represented the ideals, the belief system, and the general passion that the team's fans had and the community had in Porto. And so in order to do this, though he didn't have access to certain international players or international stars, he recruited local stars that he scouted within Porto, who, like I said, lacked international experience, but possessed a very strong mentality as well as a passion that was shared with the community of Porto. And so in connecting this back to our game, cricket, we need to understand who are our audiences when we're playing and how we express our passion and drive when we step onto the field. Obviously, since we play cricket in clubs and we play locally, there's not much of an audience aside from our coach and our families. But to connect Jose Mourinho's first rule to our approach to the sport of cricket, we need to understand how we strive to be the best person that we can when we're stepping on the field, whether it is character, whether it is the passion that we show, or just generally how we want to hold ourselves when we're playing the game. And so as a cricketer, it's always important to understand that when we step on the field, our goal is to give our everything. It's to deliver our best performance at all times and never surrender when it comes to hard situations, irrespective of how difficult circumstance might be.
Thank you, Ayush. I'll be talking about Mourinho's second rule, which is if you're prepared for the worst, you're prepared. And Mourinho explained that during the 2003-2004 Champions League draw, he actually created an atmosphere where he wanted his team to anticipate that they would be playing the strongest team in the tournament, which was Manchester United at the time. Hence, when Porto actually ended up getting Manchester United in the draw, the team was excited and saw it as a great challenge. So for us as cricketers, I believe if we prepare for the worst, we will be more ready to face challenges and unexpected opportunities and consequences on the field. We will be calm when facing these challenges and we will follow the game plan. We will be more confident because we are aware that we have prepared mentally for this challenge, and we will also be positive and give it our all. The question for you guys to consider would be, has there been a time during a cricket game where you would prepare for the worst, or even during a normal life event, because it can really help you stay mentally positive? Personally, for me, there was actually a time I was able to try this or something similar to this, where during a match I was told that the opposition had a very lethal opening bowler that could swing the new ball very well and could also ball much faster than the other fast bowlers in our age group. And I was aware that I didn't normally go opening, but I had been recently given a few chances to go opening. So I ended up actually preparing myself mentally and telling myself that I wanted to go opening and I wanted to face this bowler because I wanted to take on the challenge. And I actually ended up going opening in that match, and I was able to play the bowler well and was able to play my shots freely and positively and confidently. So I think it really helps you to play your natural game and it's a great way to stay positive on the field. Now I'll be passing on to. Actually, I'll be talking on this point because Xavier is unavailable to attend due to a doctor's appointment. And this is Marino's third rule, which is the underdog attack. FC Porto was actually considered the underdogs against Manchester United, obviously at Old Trafford when they played them there. Manchester United ended up leading 1-0, and Marino noticed that Manchester United were playing a much more defensive brand of football than they normally played, and they tried to concede. He noticed this because the fans became very quiet and nervous because they didn't want them to give away a goal. Therefore, he actually told his players to start playing more offensively and start pushing themselves to score. And they actually ended up drawing the game. They were able to score, and they won on aggregate 3-1. So the learnings that we get from this is that we get actually more than that this rule provides at its core. Because in the game of cricket, there are more away factors than just fans. And even though at club level, fans may not be a huge factor, other away factors like pitch conditions, the weather, and outfield conditions, tactics are also very important in the game of cricket. I personally feel that if we consider all of these away factors when we go into the field and we go into a game, we'll be more prepared and we will be able to change our game plan with when these conditions change, just like Marino and his team did. The question to consider here is, have you also faced something similar when playing against another team? And how would you change your game, and how would you change your approach to the game if conditions end up changing or something changes? Now I'll be moving on to Kimon for Rule 4.
Rule 4, some rules are meant to be broken. Jose Mourinho was suspended for 2 matches in the quarterfinals of the Champions League against Bayern Munich. He knew as his team needed him for this important game, he broke the rules and hid in the laundry basket in the dressing room. The commentary people were trying to look for him all around the stands, but couldn't find him. So one guy went to the dressing room and tried to find him. Luckily, he hid in the basket and didn't get found. The question is, has there ever been a time where you broke a rule your coach just set? There are 2 examples. One is when your coach asks you to play a certain shot way in training, but you feel more comfortable playing it a different way, and you're achieving short-term as well as long-term results, you could play the shot like that. Another one is when you go out to bat in a game and your coach asks you to play defensively, but you feel that you can play aggressively and take on the opponent's bowling attack, you could do so if you're achieving the desired result. Now I'll be passing it on to Viren.
Thank you. I'll be talking about Marino's 5th rule, which is the train doesn't stop. This train doesn't stop twice. Marino actually led after leading Porto to win. He led Inter Milan to win the Champions League in 2009 and 2010. During the tournament, he received an offer from Real Madrid. And although Marino was very emotional leaving the club, he believed that it was the right decision to take, as opportunities like that don't come around often. And it was a very interesting opportunity. The message that we can take from this is that even during a cricketer's journey, we are often presented with opportunities to improve our game as a whole. You may be given the option to change your batting position, bat higher up the order, or change your bowling style, or experience new aspects of the game like maybe fielding its slips or even captaining. You may end up being even more successful if you take these opportunities. The question here is, has there been a time you received an opportunity during a cricket game which you took? Personally, for me, I had an issue when I started playing cricket where I couldn't bowl very well without chucking or bending my arms slightly. And my coach advised me to take up keeping, so I did. And I tried and I practiced a lot. And over the time, I grew and became a better keeper. And I was able to become more successful. And in a couple of tournaments, I actually performed quite well with the gloves. And looking back in hindsight, I think that I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I got to take up keeping because it made me a more versatile player. It gave my game a new aspect, and it also made me more of an asset. Now I'll be moving on to Ayush for the last sixth rule.
The final rule that was emphasized by Mourinho in his interview was when he spoke about his role as the coach of the different teams. And he specifically said, don't coach the player, coach the team. So obviously, we know Coach Neville is the one who helps us around. He teaches us how to play the game a certain way and helps us in the various aspects of the game. But like speaking on Mourinho's experiences, when he was coaching the team, he took the approach of coaching the players to coexist with each other, to play and support each other's roles. He didn't need to teach each of the players how to play because they achieved a certain level on their own throughout their journey into international club and league cricket, for example. And so when coaching Real Madrid, for example, he played Ronaldo in a different position to create a counter-attacking option against FC Barcelona. And so similarly in cricket, we need to understand that tactics are incredibly variable. They change based on situation, they change based on conditions, and they also change based on the opposition you're playing against. And so the question we really need to consider in this case is, how does coach help us play to our potential on the field? What tactical decisions does he take to help us play better together, whether it's field placement, batting order, bowling order, or any other examples? We need to understand that whenever we step out on the field, coach is the one who's standing behind us, giving us the support and helping us make certain difficult decisions on the field. And sometimes we might overlook certain decisions that he takes, whether it's moving a fielder a little bit to the left or moving a fielder a little bit to the right, or even bowling or placing someone up or down in the batting order. But understanding this helps us have a more well-rounded understanding of the game overall, and it helps us better understand how we need to apply ourselves based on the situation.
To conclude this presentation, sport is about winning. Its competitive nature motivates us to perform at our best and win games. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. Personally, I've made many mistakes in the cricket field, like, for example, throwing a wide ball or something, but I've learned from my mistakes and acted upon them. The concept of a team is the most beautiful thing. Teammates are there for each other. A great coach is judged by his ability to bring the team together to accomplish a desired goal. An individual player cannot express themselves without a team and working together. A team means some people who have got each other's backs and can help them prosper and flourish into better human beings in general in life as well as in sport like cricket. So to conclude this presentation, Jose Mourinho and his managerial skills that he led different teams with, he emphasized that teamwork and unity is the main aspect of success, and how that helps one to be successful in life as well as in his sports career. Thank you.
Any questions?
I think I'll start with the first question. So during the that particular episode, Mourinho says you sweat the shirt. Now, what do you understand by that statement?
I think regarding that phrase, you sweat the shirt, there are many ways that you can interpret it. But in particular, when you're connecting it back to cricket, I think he's speaking a lot about the effort that a player has to put when they're on the field. Sport is very competitive, regardless of whether you're playing friendly games or competitive games. And so it's greatly important that every time you step on the field, you're giving your 100%, regardless of whether you're just playing for fun or you're playing to win. And so when he says you need to sweat the shirt, I think he's literally saying that whenever you step on the field, you need to be giving everything you have, and you should walk off the field realizing that there's nothing much you could have done, irrespective of whether you won the game or whether you lost the game at the end of the day.
Just to add on to that brilliant answer, I think you can also say that you give it your all for the team, which is represented by this shirt, and you're playing for the team. I think that's another message.
Okay, I'll ask one more question. During that, coming back to the episode again, he also stated, "I'm not Waze." What did he mean by that?
Sorry, could you say that again? The audio was a little bit glitchy.
Sorry, during the episode, he also stated, "I'm not Waze." What did he mean by that?
I think he was referring to the Waze app, like that gives you directions. And I think that was when he was explaining that he doesn't coach the player, he coaches the team. And he's not going to tell the player which direction to go to and what to do. He's not going to tell Ronaldo what he should do on the field. And he's just going to teach the team to play together. Are there any other questions?
I'm fine with that. No.
Anyone from the other teams who like to ask a question? Team 5, since you finished, you can ask. You can be brave enough to ask.
Yeah, guys, make your friends sweat a bit.
Hi, this is Sharvin. Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, sure.
So, like, I remember there was one point that you guys talked about breaking the rules. How
Yeah.
would you reconcile breaking a rule your coach told you not to?
I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to breaking rules, intention is what matters. So if you're breaking rules just for the sake of breaking rules, then there's nothing good that comes for you or the team as a player. But if you're breaking rules in order to put yourself or you put the team into a better position, like one example was given was trying to bat in a more aggressive manner if you think you can take on the opposition as opposed to coach telling you to play more defensively. So if you're able to carry out that action successfully, then I don't think at the end of the day you need to reconcile with your coach because everything plays out well in the end. But in the case that it may not play so well in your favor, it's important to stand behind what you did and take responsibility, because doing something that was not advised and then not taking responsibility of it makes you look like a bad cat. It shows you off to be a bad person and have a bad character. But once again, standing behind whatever you do, having good intentions as well as that, and backing yourself, irrespective of how things play out, that's very important when you are breaking the rules.
Thanks, Ayush.
Yeah, I have a question. Let me turn on the video. I have a question for you boys. Learning is obviously, cemented when you have internalized it the most, right? So two questions actually. Which one of any of the things that Mourinho had to say, you feel you have internalized the most? And how do you plan to continue that in the longer term?
I think everyone should give an answer for this because I think it's dependent on the person specifically. For me, I think the most important rule that I wanted to internalize was if you're prepared for the worst, then you are prepared. I believe that in any team sport or any competitive sport, it's important to focus on you and make sure that you are training yourself to play against anyone. So if I'm going into the nets and I'm practicing my bowling and I'm practicing my batting, my fielding, I'm trying to make sure that I'm playing to the best of my ability and I'm not trying to take any shortcuts. Because not only in cricket, but in life, when you are training in a certain manner or you're working in a certain manner to make sure that for whatever you're doing, you're giving your best, then 9 times out of 10, you find that your best is good enough to overcome any sort of challenge. And so it's important to just hold your head up high and give your everything for everything that you do. Because at the end of the day, when you put everything that you have into your work, you will do well.
Yeah, and for me, I think the rule that I internalize is rule 1, which is understand your audience. And for me, the audience consists of my parents, my coach, and my team. and I want to bring out their values, what they have taught me, and their ideals onto the field, represent them and represent their energy on the field so that I can do my best. I need to play for my team and for my parents and my coach and follow what they have taught me. So I think that's one I internalize.
For me, I would go with rule 4. Some rules are meant to be broken. This is really significant to me as the rules set for you, and some rules are meant to be broken, which can lead to better outcomes, such as if we are in a tough situation in a match and we don't have that many wickets, but there's a high strike rate that is needed. I would rather go with a higher strike rate, and some rules are meant to be broken. Even the coach might have told me to play defensive since we have less wickets. So, in order, what's best for the team, some rules are meant to be broken for the best outcome, I would say.
I think for me, it's also rule 2. If you're prepared for the worst, you're prepared. And you could practice in the net and on the wicket everywhere if you practice facing or bowling against someone. And if you are prepared, you'll do well in the match.
All right, I think that's the end. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, well done, boys. Really good responses. Good answers.
Suren.
Yep. So we can have the next team to get ready, Team Rivers, while I wait for the scores from the judges. Okay, Team Rivers can start.
Okay, thank you. Oh, 1 second. Okay, thank you. So I'll just take this opportunity to thank the organizing members and the judges this evening for giving me and the rest of my team this opportunity to present. And I'm Rishabh, and I'll be representing Team Rivers along with Diaz, Rahul, and Sid. And I'd also like to thank our mentor, Uncle Ashish, for helping us through this process. So as a team, we were tasked with analyzing the first episode of the Netflix original, The Playbook, Coach's Rules for Life. And we were introduced to the first episode, and we were, which brought us to basketball legend Doc Rivers. And Doc Rivers is amazing basketball player and coach. He's coached the LA Clippers, Orlando Magic, Boston, and Philadelphia, and he has played 13 seasons as a player in the NBA as well. So it was an extremely eye-opening kind of experience to watch this episode. And I think what we found the most interesting from this whole experience was how he brings this unique perspective of a player, and he uses his experiences as a player to self-reflect and kind of formulate ways to coach the various teams that he has, and they've ended up being successful too. So as an idea, this opened our eyes to the fact that we can be our own coaches, and allowed us to realize that as cricketers, we too have the ability to kind of understand how we can improve ourselves and self-reflect to find ways to improve ourselves. And we brainstormed as a group 3 takeaways from the video and from self-reflection and of our own game. And these were the 3 takeaways. And one was that was maintaining team spirit and transparency within a team. And our team will talk about this further in the coming slides, but he explores this through this term known as Ubuntu, which is an African concept from the language, from the Zulu language, which talks about this idea that I am because you are, and my team will talk further on this later. And Another takeaway was how he found ways to turn negatives into a positive or a way for bringing motivation in the team. And the final thing that we found very interesting was his understanding of what it means to be goal oriented and how he works towards achieving his goals. So I'll be handing it over now to Diaz, who will talk about rule number 1, and the 5 rules that Doc Rivers brings up is finishing the race, don't be a victim, Ubuntu is a way of life, pressure is a privilege, and champions keep moving forward. And the rest of my team will be talking further on these points, and I'll be handing it over to Diaz now.
Hello, my name is Diaz. I'm gonna talk about Doc Rivers' first rule, finish the race. As a young kid, Doc Rivers wrote pro basketball player when his teacher asked him what he wanted to become. He was asked to be realistic, and the teacher would ask him to erase the goal and write a new one. His dad agreed with the teacher but added, "Look, it's a great goal. Whatever goal you have, and right now it's too early. But when you finally do settle on one, just finish the race." This can be important in cricket because when you are practicing bowling or batting, you should just finish what you are doing and not go do something else. Also, when you go to the field for a match, you should just finish the match with pride even if you lose. Now I'll hand it over to my friend Rahul. Thank you.
Thank you, Diaz, for that amazing presentation on rule number 1. Hi, I'm Rahul, and I'll be talking about rule number 2 from Doc Rivers' Netflix series, and titled "Don't Be a Victim." In this part of the video, Doc Rivers explains why it is important to make sure you are never left feeling sorry or upset at your own failures. One example he gave was when the LA Clippers owner had made racist comments the day before a very important game for the team. They were then expected to boycott the match in protest against him. Instead of doing this, the team persevered through and designed their own protest by holding up banners against his comments in the center of the court before their game. Instead of feeling sorry for themselves and getting beaten down about what he had said, they picked themselves up and elegantly marched through it. When playing cricket, we can all use the same piece of advice. Say your team has just lost a huge game and you are criticized for underperforming. Instead of crying over your loss, you should pick yourself up and the team and work harder so that you can win again. In a recent talk by Malaysian cricketer Virendeep Singh, he mentioned that you should always set smaller goals in life in order to achieve bigger ones, instead of crying over not achieving them. I'll now hand over to Siddharth, who will explain about rule number 3.
Thank you, Rahul, for your wonderful contribution. I'm Siddharth. I'm going to talk about rule number 3, Ubuntu is a way of life. In this part of the video, the Boston Celtics team started living Ubuntu. Ubuntu is an African concept that stands for I am because you are, which literally means that a person is a person through other people. Ubuntu also tells us that nothing is possible alone, and we have to work as a team to achieve a feat. The Boston Celtics team won the NBA the next year after using the rule Ubuntu in their games. I believe that Ubuntu can be applied in cricket as well, where winning a match requires a communal team effort as nothing is achievable alone. Personally, I feel like we should support our teammates at all times, as this will motivate them to do better. Thank you, and now we'll hand it over to Rahul Bharadwaj again.
Thank you, Sid, for your presentation about Ubuntu. Hi, I'm Rahul. I'm here again, and I'll be talking about rule number 4. In this segment titled Pressure is a Privilege, Doc Rivers explains how in 2008, he needed his team to win the championship. So he shined a spotlight on the empty wall where their winning plaque would sit. Being put under immense pressure by this, the players used it as inspiration to go on and win the championship that season, eventually beating one of the best teams ever, the LA Lakers. In cricket, we can use this to our advantage. Say you are playing the best team in the world who haven't been beaten in a long time. Use that to be determined to beat them. We can also use this in life when overcoming big obstacles. Use the pressure to help you achieve whatever it is that you wanted to achieve. Thank you. I will now be passing it back to Siddharth, who will explain rule number 5.
Thank you again, Rahul. And now I'm going to present rule number 5, champions keep moving forward. In this part of the video, Doc Rivers tells us that champions are hit by challenges more than anyone else, but they find a way to overcome them. He also mentions that champions are brought to the opportunity to win it all through hard work and perseverance. The same applies with cricket, where all players are hit by bad luck and their success is determined by how well they recover from their poor performances. In a recent talk, Malaysian cricketer Virendeep stated that we must believe in the process and trust ourselves in order to achieve a goal. Thank you. And now I'm going to pass it over to Rishabh to conclude the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Sid. So I guess I'll just like to conclude, and this was an idea that we kind of came into consensus with as a whole team, and that was that these 5 rules, which is finishing the race, not being a victim, Ubuntu is a way of life, pressure is a privilege, and champions keep moving forward are extremely valuable for us as cricketers here in RSC or as cricketers anywhere in the world. And we really think this because due to the kind of dependent and connected nature of these rules, and we think that just making an effort to improve on one of these aspects could help to improve on all the other aspects as well. And I'll give more kind of details on that as right now. So when we talk about the cricket connection with an aspect like finishing the race, we're thinking about things like having sight of the final goal, which is winning the game, or when you're chasing while you're batting or while you're trying to set a score, kind of breaking up the innings into overs and trying to set smaller totals to eventually leading up to the end of the innings and kind of playing out the whole game. And kind of finishing that race is really dependent on these other aspects as well. So being a team sport, well, I hear echo. Anyway, so it's fine. Being a team sport, you need the kind of support of your team as well to so if you're batting, what I'm trying to say is if you're batting, you need the whole team to be with you and score, and you need the support. And I guess a lot of people underestimate the importance of the non-striker. And just to give an example with that, the non-striker is extremely important for any batsman to call runs behind the wicket when the ball goes behind the wicket. And just the support of your team is extremely important to finishing the race. That's just a example of how these rules are connected. And I think one rule that we all thought was extremely important as a group was not being a victim, because at our age, failure can seem pretty daunting. And when you don't score or you're having a bad run, you might feel like you might want to quit or you might want to leave, and you might feel like you can't come back from that. But this idea of not being a victim was extremely valuable for us, because using failure as a motivation is an extremely smart way to get over failure and to find a way to succeed as well. So, and I think another fact that aspect that we always talk about in training and after games as well is not to play to the opposition's plan. And that's also extremely important when considering not being a victim. So sticking to your own strengths, like if you're bowling and you get hit for a 4 or a 6, sticking to your own strengths and not trying to change it up because the opposition has the upper hand in one delivery could really help you stay on top and still have a clear plan for the rest of the game. And I think these 5 rules are quite valuable for us as a whole team. So with that said, I'd like to conclude our presentation and open it up for any questions. Thank you.
All right, I think I'll start with the first question. During that episode, Doc Rivers says, never call it practice where you are going. What do you think he meant by this statement?
I think I'll take this question. So Doc Rivers said he hated describing training as practice because practice makes it sound like something that he's being forced to do, whereas he's doing it out of passion and love for the game instead of having someone force him to go for practice. And he also doesn't like to call it practice because yes, he is practicing, but he's also having fun while playing the game and he's engaging with others. So yeah, thank you for the question.
I have a question regarding these words, Ubuntu. How much you understand about this word and how would this word help in your team or your individual life?
I think I can take this question. So basically, Ubuntu tells us that nothing is possible alone and we have to work as a team to achieve something. And this will help us in cricket as if you're in a bad situation, and if we stick together as a team, we can definitely come out of it and win the game. I think.
Okay, yeah, sure. Continue.
Sure, continue, sure.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I think the essence of that term is that when you're placed in a scenario or when you're playing a game, it's about thinking about the game as a team and the team having kind of one idea towards the end goal or having one plan, and not having instead of having 11 individuals, it's about having one team that has the same ideas and the same plan moving forward. And I think that as a team, it would really help to improve us as players as well, because if 11 players have 11 individual plans, there's a lot of pressure that can build up in the minds of a player in terms of having to perform in those goals. But if you're thinking as a team, that could take the pressure off on you as an individual, and the pressure is kind of balanced across the whole team. So it's a way to make sure that everyone's on the same page and that there's not 11 individuals in the team, but there's one team that thinks as a cohesive unit.
Okay. Okay.
Any other question for the team? Suren?
Okay, if there's no more questions, thank you, Team 3. So can Team 2, RSC Vipers, start preparing while I get the scores from the judges?
We'd just like to add, we would like to thank everyone for organizing this event. Uncle Surin, Coach Neville, Uncle Ashish, all the judges, and Uncle Amajit for putting this event together. And yeah, thank you. And thank you for listening to our presentation as well.
Thank you, welcome.
Yeah, okay. I think we're ready to start.
Yes, Team 2 can start.
Yeah, all right. So hello, everybody. My name is Marzuk, and I'm here today with my team, Nish, Karthik, Gurnil, and Haroon. We thank you all for joining us today. So based on the Netflix documentary, The Playbook, in an episode featuring the tennis coach, Patrick Moratoglu, we're going to be presenting our learnings from it, as well as what we will try to do individually or as a team to kind of implement his rules and his strategies into our own game.
Patrick Marotta, sorry, give me a second. Patrick Mouratoglou has been one of the most influential tennis coaches, and his strategies have led to incredible success. Here are a few of Patrick's career highlights. 4 times Coach of the Year, 10 Grand Slams wins with Serena Williams, including an Olympic gold medal, coached multiple players into the top 10 rankings, such as Serena Williams, Marcos Baghdatis, Stefanos Tsitsipas, just to name a few. The documentary Tennis Coach Patrick Mouratoglou reflects on his success with Serena Williams and reveals his strategy for players who tank. I am now honored to call upon our special guest, Patrick Mouratoglou.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to join this session and be a part of this prestigious group of young talent. These are a few lessons that I talk about in the documentary. Lesson 1, your greatest weakness can become your greatest strength. Lesson 2, never be afraid to get fired. Lesson 3, mistakes are inevitable, but don't let them define you. Lesson 4, emotions are the worst advisors. Lesson 5, let them know they are not alone. And lesson 6, a good lie can become the truth.
Coach, I feel like my power is one of my biggest weakness, especially when hitting backhand. Could you suggest a way to overcome it?
Lesson 1, your greatest weakness can become your greatest strength. As a child, I used to be very nervous while talking to anyone, and so the way I would understand how things work would be to read people. That shyness has developed into my ability of reading people, which has become one of my strengths today. As a player, if your backhand is weak, you can use that to your own advantage and drop the ball more often. If you drop the ball near the net, the opponent won't expect it, as they usually play at the back of the court. Patrick talks about weaknesses becoming strengths, and I can implement this in my own cricket. The short ball used to be one of my weaknesses. However, after consistently practicing, I'm able to play variations of the pull shot, such as in front of square or behind square, and I have developed new shots like the uppercut and cut shot, which help me score more runs.
Coach, why were you so harsh on me the first time I spoke to you?
Lesson 2, never be afraid to get fired. If I told you what you wanted to hear, you would have never improved. I shouldn't be afraid to lose my job based on what you want to hear. I need to be able to tell you something that'll help you improve.
Karthik, you're muted. Karthik, you're muted right now.
If an athlete is told what they want to hear, they will not learn from their mistakes and will not improve. For example, Coach Neville always tells us the truth because he wants us to improve as cricketers.
Coach, I have lost the last 5 matches I have played in the last year and was my worst year in my career. What shall I do?
Lesson 3, mistakes are inevitable, but don't let them define you. You may have had one of your worst years ever, but now you have come to a point where everything only gets better. Dwelling on the past will just throw you deeper down the hole, and you need positivity to be able to jump out. You can only learn from your failures, and we can work together by analyzing your games, and I can give you all the help you need to aid you in your goal. Patrick talks about mistakes being inevitable and how players overcome bad form or bad performances. Humans learn from failures, and as tough as it may be, a player has to accept it and move on. I've used this lesson personally in the past where I was going through a bad bowling run and used this to learn from my mistakes, which helped me overcome my bad performance.
Whenever I start to lose, I get angry at myself, and then everything goes downhill. Why is that?
Whenever you get angry, emotions flood your brain. You are overcome with emotion, and you're letting them take control of you and make decisions for you. This shouldn't be happening. Having emotions isn't a problem, but letting them make decisions for you is wrong.
Having emotions is perfectly fine. However, you should make decisions in a logical manner. Always think through your decisions. Otherwise, you could end up doing something you regret, like losing a relationship, similar to what happened between me and Patrick. The way I've been able to implement this into my game is by staying calm when bowling, regardless if I'm doing good or bad. If I don't maintain my composure, I could end up making mistakes, which could cost me runs.
Every time I lose momentum, the opponent starts to take advantage and I don't try to win after that. Why is that?
Over the 17 years that I have coached, the most common thing that I have seen is players tanking games. As I tried to understand why players ended up tanking games, I thought about what players all have in common. They all have talent. And one thing that a player doesn't want to lose is their own talent. It gives them an excuse for not trying. In other words, it helps them keep their talent without ruining their pride.
There are times when player might be going through bad performance even if they're talented. A good coach need to trust and motivate them so that they realize they are not alone and they could achieve much better results. Similar to myself who started believing in myself and overcome the fear of losing a good practice showed me the love, care and trust in my game. As players we can as play As players, we can implement this strategy as well. If one of my teammates is alone and he's having a tough time, something I can do to lift his spirits and help him is let him know that he is not alone and he has a whole team behind his back and help him overcome whatever may have put him down in the first place.
Coach, I feel like my game is off. Something's wrong. And I think I'm losing most of my points at the net. What do you think?
I think that, Serena, you're winning all your games because of your movement at the net. You may feel like you are losing most of your points at the net. However, the way I see it, and the statistics back me up,
Enough in space lah.
you're winning almost 80% of your points near the net. This is possibly your biggest strength, and I feel you should continue to do what you are doing, as this will give you a lot of confidence going forward. Whenever you move up the court, I'm relaxed, as I know you're going to win most of the points.
Now, in this interaction between Serena and Patrick, Patrick was not so obviously lying, but it helped Serena a lot in her confidence. This is because a small lie can change a player's entire game and boost their confidence completely. As a coach, it's important to ensure that like a player still has confidence in themselves and their game to achieve the best results. As the man says himself, I hate to lie, but as a coach, you have to say the right thing to bring confidence. Now, of course, me personally, I can't give you an example of coach lying to me because then it wouldn't have been a very good lie. But I'm sure that he probably has done it before, as I've never really felt insecure or ashamed of myself in any way while I'm playing cricket. And I know that me personally, I have told a few white lies and false truths to my friends just to make them feel better and to give them a little bit more confidence, which I think you can never get enough of. This is a summary of all of Patrick's rules to coaching, his guide. Your greatest weakness can become your greatest strength. Never be afraid to get fired. Mistakes are inevitable, but don't let them define you. Emotions are the worst advisors. Let the players know that they're not alone, and a good lie can become the truth.
I would like to thank our mentors for guiding us during this project, Saifullah and Arjun, and also thank you guys for listening.
As Patrick says himself, practice a million times until it is perfect. I hope that this presentation, all the players all implement the strategies taught by Patrick into their own game, which will help us move together as a team forward and win more games. We will now refer to the previous slide for the judges to ask any questions. Thank you very much once again.
Okay, I'll start with the first question. During the episode, Patrick says two particular statements. Failure and frustration are the two best things that can happen to you if you handle them the right way. And then you're going to learn. And the second one is everyone has limits, and the limits of everyone are not technical, tactical, physical, they're mental. Now, how would you interpret this in your lives?
I think the first statement is very true because failure is one of the greatest teachers and frustration too. Because if you don't make mistakes, you won't learn. So making mistakes is a good thing. So if, for example, we make mistakes when we play cricket or anything, coach can spot it out and just let us know. So we can work on things to improve it so it doesn't happen again.
And adding to what Karthik just said, I think that even if we consistently fail, we should keep persevering on, and we should be determined to overcome our bad performance and come out on top.
For the second statement, with people's boundaries being mostly mental, I think for a lot of people, the point where they give up is when they decide like it's not worth it, or it becomes too hard. And a lot of this comes from either them doubting themselves or them not thinking that, you know, the good necessarily outweighs the bad in kind of facing whatever challenge they may have. So it makes a lot of sense, because a lot of like what we think and a lot of how we process challenges is mental, mostly mental. Yeah, are there any other questions?
Yeah, I got one. Okay, say if you're a captain, right? How you bring out confidence of your players, right? How you build confidence of the players in a game?
I would, for example, tell my teammates, give them confidence by telling them what their strengths are, like giving them belief, because I've seen them do it before in practice or in other games. Maybe remind them of what good they have done and just try and make sure they think positive and don't think about making mistakes.
And I would also try to lead by example. And if the team isn't doing well, or we lose momentum suddenly, I feel like if a positive attitude will always help the players and help them overcome any fears that they may have, which will hopefully turn the tides and let us win at the end of the day.
Okay. Okay, that's my question. Thanks.
Any more questions from the rest? From the other teams?
We don't mind. We really don't mind. Ask as many as you want, guys.
Serena, we need your autograph later, okay?
No, no problem.
Okay, if no more questions, thank you very much.
Surinder,
that's
sorry,
question.
last.
Okay, sure.
One quick question for
Okay.
the team, right? Hey, among all of the presentations we've seen so far, this is a unique and a very different style, right? Can somebody in the team explain what was the inspiration to come up with this, and how do you yourself rate how it went in a setting like this, right? In a face-to-face setting, it's a lot easier to pull this off, but in a setting like this, it's that much more difficult. So Any one of you.
The idea was brought up by one of our mentors, and we really liked it, so we ran with it. We thought we wanted to be like a little bit different in a sense, and we just tried to like adapt the best we could. We spent a lot of time like thinking how to make it look the best, the most polished, as it could possibly be. There was a whole issue with like how do we differentiate when we're talking as a character and when we're talking as ourselves, but I think we handled it decently well.
Yeah, well done.
Uncle, if you don't mind, I have a question for the team.
Sure.
What was your most important takeaway from the video, and why?
So I think everyone has their own lesson to learn, but personally, I think that it's the inevitability of mistakes, which is something that I can develop further. As Patrick says, mistakes are inevitable, but you shouldn't let them define you. And if you are going through a bad run or you haven't had a good game, you shouldn't let that affect you mentally. And you should always be prepared and prepare yourself mentally for the next game to try and fix your mistakes that you did in the previous game and come out on top.
I really like the whole let your players know that they're not alone, because like especially if you're a batsman and you're playing, it can be a bit of an isolating feeling, knowing that like the whole field is essentially against you and you're kind of facing everyone except whoever you're batting with. And so I feel like that whole idea of letting your player know that you're not alone, whoever you're batting with, letting them know that there's two people carrying this load and they're not alone. It's two people working together, and like having that chemistry and just having that support between each other and like the whole team in general, that I think that can bring a lot of impact when it comes to like players' mental when they play a game.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Team 2. Can Team 1 master batters get ready for their presentation?
Yasendra, please unmute. We can't hear anything.
Oh,
Please
sorry,
start
coach.
again.
Sorry, coach. Hi, everyone. Our group name are the Master Batters. The group mentors are Niroshan, Virandeep. The mentees are Sharwin, Rahul, Atif, Yashindra, Anish, Trevor, and Ridwik. Please don't confuse our team name with other familiar terms. Alright, before we begin our presentation, I would like to say that we will first be elaborating the rules and only later will we be tying the rules to cricket. The Playbook, a coach's rules for life, was launched on the 2nd September by Netflix. The coaches share with the viewers about the rules they followed and lived by, as well as the lessons they learned along their journey. The coaches that were interviewed included football coach Jose Mourinho, basketball coach Doc Rivers, tennis coach Patrick Moratoglu, WNBA coach John Staley, and last but not least, women's soccer coach Jill Ellis, which will be the topic of discussion for our group today. As our topic of discussion today is Jill Ellis, it's only right that we introduce her so you all know a little bit about the former soccer coach. As can be seen in the slide, she was born in Portsmouth, United Kingdom on September 6, 1966. She started off as an assistant coach for 3 university soccer teams.
She also coached the US national women's team from 2014 to 2019. Some of her accomplishments include 2 FIFA Women's World Cup, each won in 2015 and 2019 respectively. In 2019, she was also appointed as the 2019 Best FIFA Women's Coach. Here are some of the roles that she implemented while getting to the top. The first rule that she implemented in her life is briefly phrased as mountain tops are small and the air is thin. She compares being the best to being at the top of the mountain and how it doesn't go hand in hand with sustainability. There's always people who will want to go be up there. And when you are up there, it's you against everyone else, which is a difficult fight to win, but not impossible. In the documentary, it is felt to be implied that you shouldn't be complacent with just being the best for a moment, but you should strive to be at the top for as long as possible. And it isn't going to be easy to pull it off, as you can't let yourself go after you've reached your peak. You need to maintain your form throughout. The second rule is phrased as hold fast, stay true. The phrase is used by her, which she learned from the Navy SEALs. She believes that you should not lose hope and that you should believe that in an idea or plan that you had, even if it doesn't pan out well at first. A wise person once said, things may not always seem like they're going right, but some way you have to trust the process and the fact that the dots will connect in the end. And on that note, Anish will take over the presentation from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Yashendra, for the great introduction. I'm Anish, and I'll be taking you through Rules 3, 4, and 5. Rule 3, risk is opportunity. Ellis took a massive risk of moving to the USA for the role of secondary assistant coach at a college team for football. This was extremely risky because she had an 85% pay cut, but what made her want to take up this role was her passion and aspiration for the sport, which eventually led her to success. She also dreamed to be the best, so this risk was an opportunity for her to follow her dream. Another instance where she mentioned that risk is opportunity was when the team wasn't in a very good space after losing to Sweden in the 2016 quarterfinals in the Olympics. So she did what she believed in and not what she needed to do in order to save her job. She took risks in rotating the players around, implementing new tactics, formations, and experimented with new ideas, which didn't succeed too well at the start, but she persevered and stuck to the process, which eventually led the team to consistent wins. Rule 4, be true to yourself. Ellis said that she was really shy at first and didn't want to share anything at a personal level, which could affect and hinder her career and team. But she needed to be brave and loyal because that's what great leaders are. She went with an open mind and didn't care about the negative things that others thought about her. So she bravely announced to the team that she adopted a girl and was married to another woman. The team was happy and supportive for her. Ellis and the players were being true to themselves when they stood up asking for equal pay and questioned why they didn't have the same salaries as the men's team. Also, she did what she believed what was right, although others may not be happy. Following on, Ellis was true to herself and the team when they were going through a purple patch, but kept reminding the team, if you want to sustain excellence, it's not about being the best, but staying the best. This made a large impact on the players, making them hungry for more, striving for excellence, and wanting to be the best they could be. Rule 5, if you want to be heard, make a statement. Ellis tells us the best way to be heard is to make a statement. In addition, she tells us that winning is the best way of doing it, although behind the scenes, there was a long and tough process for the team to reach there. She told her team to focus on what they and the team wants and that nothing else matters. After this, they were inspired and motivated to make a statement. So in USA's opener, they crushed Thailand 13-0 in the 2019 World Cup. The media viewed them as villains and bullies due to their mind-blowing performance, which clearly made a statement. They then went a step further and won all the games in the tournament and beat Netherlands to win their 4th World Cup title, which was a great send-off for Ellis in a final tournament and ending her career on a high. In her concluding remarks, Ellis mentioned that she will always remember the moments that made her feel alive because those were the ones which excited her the most. Now I will pass on to Rahul, who will be taking you through how these rules are applicable to cricket.
Thanks, Anish. All of Jill Ellis's rules can be applied to cricket. Most of the applicability to cricket can be related to our latest under-16 tournament in Ipoh and to international cricket. KL under-16 won Sport Excel in 2019.
We went into 2020 Sport Excel as defending champions, which was not easy. We lost in a tight final and left as runners-up. Similarly, India dominated the Test stage for a few years, leading up to the World Test Championship final. New Zealand won as underdogs, further proving Alice's point as it is easier to be hunting than to be hunted. 2-2, hold fast, stay true. Hold fast means to be steady and to remain determined and stalwart in times of trouble. These two skills are often shown in cricket. For example, during a Sport Excel game against Perak, KL lost a few early wickets, putting them in a position of worry. Atif was sent up the order in order to salvage the innings. He batted steadily and calmly, winning the game for KL in a man-of-the-match performance. Rule 3. Risk is opportunity. A good example of a risk turning into an opportunity is when KL under-16 opened with a spinner after posting only 97 runs in their innings. This risk worked out well, with KL claiming 4 quick wickets, swaying the game in their favor, and eventually winning it in the end. In the T20 World Cup final, held in 2016 in Eden Gardens between England and West Indies, Joe Root was tasked to open the bowling for England. This plan worked out brilliantly as he claimed prized wickets of Johnson Charles and Chris Gale in his opening 3 balls. Rule 4. Be true to yourself. A great example of this rule is Rishabh Pant in the infamous 4th test between India and Australia at the Gabba. There was a huge total and there wasn't many batters left. All odds seemed to be against him. He stayed true to his aggressive batting style and he won the game for India in a true heroic style. Rule 5. If you want to be heard, make a statement. During the test between England and West Indies, Captain Jason Holder got his team and the opposing team to take the knee in the Black Lives Matter peace movement. This act has been carried out in every Premier League game and also features in some NBA games. I would now like to pass it on to Shavin for concluding remarks.
Thanks, Rahul. And with that, we'd like to conclude our statement and the floor is open for any questions. Thank you.
All right, let me start with a quick question. During that particular episode, there were 2 statements that she made that were quite pertinent. The first one being, share your success, own your failure. The second one being, sport is the vehicle for change. Now, what is your understanding of these 2 statements?
Thank you for the question. So with share your success and own your failure, the way I interpret that remark is by, when we play cricket, it's a team game. So the one thing which is good is that we have all our teammates beside us. So when we win, we can share that victory together. However, when we lose, it's important to think about what we have done wrong and how we can improve from that. So that's how we have to own our failures and therefore come back stronger.
Sorry, there was one more statement there.
Relating the second part of your question, sport is the vehicle for change. I think sport is a great leveler. Like, it doesn't matter which class you're from or how rich you are or whatever. Anyone can play sport and it's open for everyone. And I think that it's the vehicle for change because it brings us together. And as Jill Alice said, that she came out as lesbian, and using that, she used the national team, the women's team, to help her through that change and make her feel better. And also the whole women's equal pay rights issue, that was a change which the football, the women's team, brought to the bigger stage, and also with Black Lives Matter. Any other questions?
Other teams, do you have any questions for your friends? Okay, if that's the case, let me ask you a question. Let me ask a question to this team. So, in one of the points that she mentions is that it is the point on the mountain where the air is thin, the space is small. Yes, there can be only a one champion team or a one champion. Assuming that you guys are a champion team and you want to cement your place, or you want to be there, eventually at some point of time somebody else is going to come and take your place. How would you react if you're the champions and you lose a game, a championship game?
So I feel mentality is very important. So if you want to be at the top, you got to be mentally tough and mentally strong. You have to be mentally like at the top also to go hand in hand with your skills. So once both of that is good, everybody in the team must be on the same page about tactics and game plan. And once all of that is ready, you will be the top team.
Yeah, can I just add on to what Rahul said? Also, there was one point in the documentary that stated it's not the events that happen in your life that define who you are, it's how you interpret those events. So it depends on how you interpret a loss. So usually champion teams, what they do is they do not interpret a loss as something that's bad or something that's unfortunate or they are failures or anything. The way they interpret a loss is that it's something that can make them better and it's a learning process. So that's also one of the things that we learned after losing the under-16 tournament in 2020 when we came second. We were a champion team, but we still lost. So we took that as a motivating factor instead of something that was demotivating. Thank you.
Thanks. Well said. Suren, over to you.
Yeah, maybe just one quick question. What's with the team name Master Betters?
I think the team name is basically a lot of us, we love betting. I think we like to bet every day and we like to bet every chance that we get. So I think we are masters in that, and that's why hence the term Master Betters. And if you take it any other way, I think it's not our fault. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, Team 1, Master Betters. So we have all the 5 teams have presented. I will just tally the scores. And so we have finished the presentation. Maybe while we doing the scoring, any quick feedbacks, for all the teams, from some of the seniors, from the judges. For me, I think it was a very good session. I think really impressed with all the boys. They were very excellent in their presentation, especially the way they took questions. I think very, very confident. So, presentation you can prepare, but questions are something that, people shoot at you and you have to be on your toes. So I think everyone answered quite well. And good to see the slides. A lot of slides were very well done. The creativity of Team 2, I think that was something different, which we have never seen. So, we and in the corporate world, we do a lot of presentations. We try to be creative, but I've never seen those creativity before. So great job. And I think, yeah, I think this goes back to what at RSC, we are not just, Amajit's, thing about not just building cricketers. We want to build someone is whole in terms of, the everyday life, a better person, and also be able to contribute back to the society. So it's not just about being a sportsman, right?
So if I can just add on, I think what I've heard in the last half an hour and what these guys have done is that they've created a complete scene. It's a complete picture, right? And I would use the word all-rounder. And it's just like how they carry themselves on the padang, on the nets, at home, in school, and some of us at work. And the value added that these guys have put in, I think it's created a lot of things for them to go. And the journey is there. It's a beautiful journey. and that creativity, how illustrious they've come up, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, let me add
To
on
actually, in a way, overcome the barriers or hurdles in life, in sports, friendship, relationship. Beautiful.
Thanks, Abhijit. I'll also make some comments. I'm sure in the background, Suren is busy working out the team scores. But I think the points that I really thought was, I think, all the teams have exceeded their expectations. All their presentations were very thought through, well prepared. All teams have really done well, and everybody had a different approach. And if I sort of go reflect back on what each team did and call out some of the good things. Team 5 started off first. Obviously, starting off first is an advantage as well as a disadvantage, because the other teams can see what you have done and improvise, but you are the leaders, right? And I think the point that I really like of Team 5 was the adoption. They were quickly able to relate it to the to RSC and what they do here locally. Though the context of the presentation was slightly more international and at a more international level. Team 4, which was Ayush, I think I really liked their confidence, and they were asked some really tough questions, and it's the confidence sort of sailed throughout their presentation and their question answer sessions. Team 3, really the new concepts. They were able to introduce the concept of Ubuntu. This is something that I would really encourage everybody in the all the boys to really read about it more. It's a very interesting concept. Team 2 obviously has been called out again and again for the innovation, the innovative way in which they tried to present it. But I think more important was actually the courage that they had to take on that very different approach and not go by the tried and tested approach. I think that's what really calls out. And Team 1 is, I think their strategy was that they put on their best two presenters forward, so that they were able to deliver very confidently. And I think what I really want to also comment on is that I'm seeing all these boys in a completely different light. Okay? It's giving me a completely different perspective of themselves, their personalities, and it's all coming out very quickly, and it's coming out very clearly that each of them is an individual in their own right, with their own strong points, okay, which were clearly demonstrated today, and they were able to connect the dots within the learnings that they had, and then apply it locally. But I think lastly, I'd like to conclude by saying that I think for all the boys, you need to really reflect on the journey of the last 2 weeks, okay, and try to understand or reflect upon what is it that you can improve going forward. Okay, it's not that everything went perfect. There is obviously room to improve, as Coach Neville would say, that you might score a 50, and then he will say, okay, next innings you go and score 100. So I guess this is just the journey. All of this is actually an experiment for you to go back and reflect on the journey and understand how you can do well in the next time we have this kind of event. Okay, thank you. Suren, over to you.
Hey, actually, Suren, sorry, before you get started, if I can just pick up on what Ashish was saying, right, about the teams, their approach, their preparedness, and so forth. I must admit, right, at the beginning, being a mentor myself and looking at my team and how they were approaching it, I did not expect any of them, right, to really, come here and be able to, kind of present themselves, present, the particular episodes they were talking about and so forth, which with so much eloquence and with so much of meaning, fairly deep meaning, right? And I say that in the sense that they it almost seemed like they were very casual to begin with, right? It's almost the way with, how things start in life, and over time, and as you get to that finish line, right, you pick up and you learn. And to what Ashish was saying, while that works in some settings, uh, allowing yourself the time, allowing yourself really to get over that initial hurdle and get seriously into it as early as possible is going to make it even better in the future. That's, I think, an honest thing. I'm not trying to put anybody down, including my team, but I think a lot of what they've done to get to where they are today probably happened in the last 3 to 4 days.
All right. Anything from the judges? Feedback from the judges, please.
I think for myself, excellent work all around. That was fantastic. The effort, more importantly, that everyone put in. But if I were just to reflect on the series of the show itself, if you look at all the different coaches, one of the biggest takeaways that I found with the majority of them was they weren't afraid of making mistakes. And through their mistakes, it empowered them to become a lot stronger. Now, the only one that I found that was very interesting was Mourinho, because during that episode with Mourinho, they cut short after he joined Spurs and completely forgot about talking about his failures at Spurs and in Manchester United. Whereas every other coach that was interviewed for the series, they constantly talked about their mistakes and their journey of using those mistakes to become strong. So just something to keep at the back of your minds when as a key takeaway of the entire series that I found.
Anything from Edwin, Prakash?
Everyone, I think the boys prepare well and they do a good presentation. The only thing need to comment is some of them probably will read from the paper they wrote down and all that. And the way they present is most of them are quite good, except some which I think they need to have a different tone when they present to attract the audience.
Yes.
See? So that's a way of presentation.
Yeah.
Anyway, they are good. They are well prepared, and they can answer the question that everyone throw to them. I think they answer it well. Well done, boys. That's all.
Well, the boys did well for this age. I mean, they were brave enough to come forward and bring up the speech well and things like that. And I hope that whatever they have learned now, to bring forward in their life, right? Otherwise, the boys did a good job for this age. Keep up.
Thank you. Well done.
Okay, thank you to all the judges, to the mentors, to the boys, to Amajit and all. So now let me share the screen with the results. Maybe you have taken the photo already, right?
You took my picture also, huh?
Okay. Okay, can you also see the PowerPoint slide?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Okay, so I'm going to just name the top two teams. So based on the scores given by the three judges, just the total scores. So we start with the runners-up. Okay, where's the drum roll? Okay, runners-up goes to team. Oops. Stelly Way.
Congratulations.
That is, yeah, the team mentored by Kamesh. So congrats, boys. That was the first team to present. And the champion, so the runners-up would get a Kesel cap, sponsored by Kesel. And the champion will be getting Kesel vouchers. So the champion presentation goes to RSC Vipers.
Well done, boys.
So
Nice, boys.
congratulations to the Vipers.
What do
Hey,
the
by the way,
mentors get?
how much is a castle voucher?
50 ringgit.
50 ringgit per boy.
Wow,
Oh, good.
that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
What do the mentors get?
Mentors will all meet later on and have a drink.
Okay.
Drink a
Then
whiskey.
we can meet there.
Surendran, you didn't mention about the
Yeah.
lunch.
Okay,
For the-
so for the first two teams also will be treated to a lunch by our convener Amarjit Singh.
Not the first two teams, all the team members.
All the teams, all 5 teams.
Yes, all the
Hey,
team
that
members.
just included or not?
Wow.
Of course,
Yes.
of course.
All 5 teams, mentors, myself, Neville, I think, and the judges will be treated to a lunch once we can get back to RSC.
Thank you. Congratulations, boys. Congratulations. I wish I had a drum roll somewhere. I could have done that. Next time we will get that Amarjit's nephew and then do the dole.
Dole. We'll do the dole for lunch.
That's right.
Okay, boys, any boys want to say something about the whole thing, learning, what you felt about it? You want to share? Just like last 5 minutes before we close. Oh, everyone's tired.
Yes,
I think
David.
I suggest one from the runner-up and one from the champion. They can give their view and.
Yep.
Okay.
I think somebody else do it. So before Nish can go to the other room.
I can talk for him.
We were on 2 laptops in the same place, so it's kind of echoing. So let him do it from here.
Yeah, so I would just like to say thank you to all the organizers for this competition. And I think that we learned many valuable lessons, even the teams that didn't win. I feel like everyone learned a valuable lesson which can be used when we go in the field again and while training, which will hopefully take us forward as a team and overcome any obstacles in our path.
All right. So it's the Stolly way. Who's going to talk? David.
Also, you should also complete whatever you wanted to say.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh no, it was basically the same thing. It was a really good experience. We learned a lot, and it was also quite fun. Yeah.
Great job.
Anyone from the champion team?
The champion team just spoke. So from the runners up. Yeah, we're respectful. We give the champions the first go. Who's there? Dev and Aiden, come on, guys.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm from the Stollyway team. I just want to say, overall from our team, like everyone contributed. Like we tried our best, and overall we're really happy with the result. And this process helped us learn a few things that we can implement. Now the interesting thing will be trying to apply it into our cricket. And thank you for the free food, Uncle Amarjit.
Okay, thank you. Amarjit, over to you to do the closing.
Okay, guys, it's been as usual. It just goes without saying, a perfect closing to a beautiful session. And once again, I'd like to thank Neville, Surendran, Kamesh, Niroshan, Viren, Ashish, the man behind this, and also the 3 judges, Edwin, Ralph, and Prakash, for your contribution for this evening's event. And I hope we'll have more of this to come soon. And to end, we hope to see you guys soon at Padang. And take care, stay safe, stay well. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, good night. Good night.
Thank you, Amarjit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.